So when I was a sophomore in high school, I did a workout and it almost killed me, so yeah.
He either had a scar or a scab, or he had teeth that were missing. He's always fidgeting, he's always moving, he's always got to be doing something.
I remember Nate climbing on my parents' roof, a 2-story roof, up a tree, and he fell out of the tree, landed on the ground, didn't really seem to get too hurt. Nate had a stick go through his toe. He had to go to the emergency room, get it out. He had to get stitches in his head for climbing up a shelf, and he pulled it off. But he never broke a bone, and I don't remember him ever missing a basketball game until Nate got sick with rhabdo.
From as young as I can remember, I was introduced to the game. I loved sports in general, and so I played basketball, football, soccer, and eventually, I just got to the point where, basketball just kind of consumed my life. I just loved it more than the other sports. There came a point where it was I'm not the tallest, I wasn't the strongest, the fastest anymore, and my eyes were kind of open to this world, and so I decided I needed to start doing something to find an edge, to become competitive in this other world that I know I was stepping into, so.
On March 17th, 2017 was a Thursday afternoon. High school season had just ended, and then Nate had decided, I want to work out with a personal trainer. I want to do some things to get myself prepared for the AAU season. He had been invited to go do a weight workout with some ex-college players and his trainer.
So I show up to this workout. It's at Pleasant Grove High School. I'm super excited. I felt like this was a time where I wanted to get better. Walking into that kind of situation, you want to kind of prove that you can hang with these guys, right? That you're good, you're up there, you're with them, so.
Nate came home afterwards and was pretty sore, but it wasn't unusual. He'd pushed himself pretty hard in the past. And the next morning, Nate woke up and he said, Mom, I'm having a hard time brushing my teeth. My arms hurt so bad. We get into Saturday, I think it was, and his muscles were hurting so bad, he couldn't even get his arms up to his mouth at this point to eat.
I had never experienced this before, so I'm sitting here just do I say something to my mom? Should I, tell her that I'm not feeling good? But you also don't want to seem like you're a wimp, you just worked out and now you got to take a whole week off,
He was really in a condition where he couldn't do much, and maybe not being the real intuitive parents that we are, we're kind of laughing at him, saying, "Oh my gosh, Nate, you're just, this workout just really wiped you out," whatnot. But fortunately, Jen was smart enough to look up how to recover from a hard workout. Well, one of those articles that she had read happened to mention this condition called rhabdomyolysis.
Rhabdomyolysis is a disease of severe muscle breakdown, and it's usually in response to a stress to the muscle of some type. When we exercise, our muscles break down a little bit, and then we rest and our muscles heal. What happens with rhabdomyolysis is that breakdown occurs more significantly, as well as in severe cases, a change in the color of the urine. The urine becomes very dark, and that's related to a product that the muscles break down, which is called myoglobin.
So I'm kind of all right, that hasn't happened yet, so I'm fine. So I go down to bed literally 20 minutes later, and I'm peeing blood. So it's super nasty. So I come running up the stairs. I make it halfway up the stairs, and I just start throwing up 10 times. Just can't keep anything in. I'm throwing up, and so my dad, he's like, all right, let's get in the car. So we run to the hospital, we run to the ER. I'm throwing up the whole way. I just feel horrible.
Nate came into the emergency room initially with what looked like blood in the urine or darker urine and the severe muscle pain and swelling of his arms. They ran the test for rhabdomyolysis, which showed that he was about 20 times the normal amount. And he was in the hospital for 3 days here in Utah County. His levels for the CK continued to increase despite what we were doing for him. And I was on the phone with specialists at Primary Children's, including a genetic specialist who's the one who generally handles this because it's often related to not being able to produce glucose in the right way, and that can be a genetic thing. And he suggested that we have him up there so that they could be closer to him. So we did transfer him to Primary Children's for 24 hours, but by the time he got up there, after another 24 hours, his levels were falling, and so he was able to be discharged the next day.
They send me home. I just feel horrible. I can't lift my arms. And it's probably a month before I get to the point where I can do normal stuff with my arms again. And then it probably took a year before I got to the point where I felt like back to normal, where I could lift weights. But I remember doing physical therapy, and the physical therapy was so funny because the guy comes in, he's like, all right, we're gonna put you on some weightlifting like program. I'm like, all right, whatever. And he hands me like 2-pound dumbbells. And I'm like sitting there, I'm kind of just laughing because I'm like, this is ridiculous. He's handing me 2-pound dumbbells and I'm trying to lift them and I just physically, I cannot lift them. Like I'm struggling to lift 2-pound dumbbells, and it was just super humbling because, you know, you get to that point where you feel super fit and then literally within 4 days, you can't lift 2-pound dumbbells. That was pretty rough, so.
I think through this experience, we all learned as a family, and Nate as an individual, the idea of patience. It's going to take time to work through things, and you aren't going to get everything that you want immediately.
You know, being patient, taking it day by day, and putting in work consistently. You know, if you do those things, I've found, you know, after that experience with rhabdo, that good things happen. Just being patient, keep working, and, you know, finding ways to make yourself better is all you can do.